And just like that, we're live. What's going on, peeps? How's everyone doing? Hopefully, you guys are all doing well. Happy New Year as well. It's the first live of the year, the first Sunday session of the year. We are 100%, as I said, going to do these all the time, unless I'm obviously away covering a boxing event or something else. We'll get these in because I feel like it's good to do the reactions to all the fights that happened over the weekend. And not just that, but it's good to have a little chinwag, have a little chit chat between us, right? As we always used to do. You guys know how it works. Leave a question in the comment section. I will endeavor to get through all the questions. I'm expecting this to be a pretty busy live, so we'll try and get through as many as possible. Obviously, if it's a super chat, then obviously I'll read out the super chat first out of respect for those people. But we are going to try and get to as many questions as possible. Before we start, quick thoughts on my reactions to last night fights. Gervonta Davis done what Gervonta Davis always does. He eventually just gets to you. I thought he looked a bit, I don't know, just looked a bit slow early rounds. But then he started landing those big punches. And in the end, Hector Garcia obviously told his corner he couldn't see, and that's it, right? Fighter safety. That fight's over. We look forward to Gervonta Davis versus Ryan Garcia. I know a lot of you are going to ask questions about that fight and how I think that fight will go. I thought Demetrius Andrade looked slow, looked every bit. He's 34 years, 168. Not quite sure. Obviously, look, he's been out the ring for a long time. Didn't fight in 2022. So he's been out the ring, I think, 14, 15 months, and he looked like that. Jaron Ennis has only had one fight in the last, 12 months or so. One fight last year. Again, looked a bit sluggish, but I thought boxed well. And Rashidi Ellis, who a lot of people have been talking about as another name in the welterweight division, obviously lost yesterday. Close fight, but lost by majority decision. Got put down a couple of times in the final round. He's only had one round of boxing in over 2 years. One round of boxing in over 2 years. So no wonder all these fighters looked a bit rusty yesterday. Hopefully, with it being January, they can all have 2-3 fights this year. Gervonta Davis, we know for a fact, will have at least 2 because he is going to fight Ryan sometime in April, but the rest need to stay busy as well. Overall, though, not a bad card. I'm happy I didn't wait up for it because, I mean, the times you're having to wait up for these American cards now are just ridiculous. Like, I think Gervonta Davis done a ring walk, American time, 1 a.m. or something around that. Why does the main event have to start so late? I don't get it. I think people in the UK stayed up till 6 in the morning to watch that fight, which is crazy. It's crazy. All right, let's get to the questions. Let's not waste no time because, again, I feel like there's going to be a lot of questions coming in. What have we got here? What's this one? Usyk, deep random thinker. Usyk, Fury. I'm guessing you're saying you think Usyk's better than Fury. Look, I guess we're going to find out. Frank Warren, I think, has said, and I think Bob Arum said this as well, that contracts have been sent to Usyk's team. There's been some talk recently about the fight not going to the Middle East and that the fight could happen in the UK, which does surprise me. I wonder why that's happening. I wonder if the Middle East even offered to have the fight. I'm not quite sure, but it does surprise me. But it's good for British fight fans. That fight at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium would be something special. Again, for me, the best stadium, not the best stadium in the world. If you go to America and see some of their stadiums, you know that for a fact, but one of the best stadiums I've ever seen. And I think it'll be fantastic to see that fight happening. Michael N says, what's up, peeps? What's up, Michael N? Obviously, that's what I say all the time. I know what you're doing. Stephen Macklin. Is it Macklin or Mackin? Sorry, says, even that day, was it just me or Gervonta looked very distracted between rounds, staring into the crowd and basically not listening to anyone in his corner? Ryan's left hook will pepper him all night. Yeah, he did look a bit distracted. Obviously, there was that fight ringside. I've never ever, and I've been to obviously loads of fights, and I see fights all the time going on. The referee will never, ever, or I've never seen it anyway, stop the fight action because of a fight ringside. Never. I'm surprised that happened. Meek Mill fighting Gary Russell Jr. and his people ringside, which was just a bit crazy. But yeah, I think Gervonta just looked a bit off it. Maybe. Look, I remember I said this in the lead up to the fight. Obviously, we all know what's happened with Gervonta in the last few weeks. Maybe it's a case of I just got to get through this one to get the big money Ryan fight. I'm not quite sure. But also, I think we need to give a bit of respect to Hector Garcia, unbeaten fighter, Olympian. decent fighter and caused Gervonta some problems. I just thought Gervonta maybe felt like at any time I can just turn it up on you. And I think we saw that he did at the end of the 8th. At the end of the 8th, he was landing some spiteful shots. And I think Gervonta just knows that he's a level above. And in the end, Gervonta showed that. Super chat coming here from a sick boy. Really appreciate the super chat. Thank you very much. Hey, Ade, wishing you all this success in 2023. I wanted to ask an off-topic question, if that's okay. How do you stay productive and motivated in life? Wow, man's gone in with the deep one straight away. If I'm honest with you, motivated is very, very difficult. Productive, I make sure that I've kind of got things set out for the week, for the day, and I make sure I tick all those things. But staying motivated is difficult. It's something that I really, really struggle with a lot. But then I set now high targets. I set like really just outlandish, like crazy targets. Honestly, like I'm even thinking like the Gervonta Ryan fight, I want to be the lead presenter. So I set crazy targets and I set sort of myself sort of these targets so that if I do hit them, I know I've been okay. We've done okay. But yeah, it's not easy. So don't be hard on yourself if you aren't productive or sometimes if you aren't motivated. We're not all machines. Do you know what I mean? Like sometimes I think we forget we're just human beings that can fuck up sometimes. But yeah, I just set myself crazy targets and I try and hit them. And I know that because they're so crazy, even if I don't hit those targets, the second run down is not going to be too bad anyway. But good question. Good question. Yeah, let's have a look with us. JD_05 says, even that day, how does Davis versus Garcia play out in your opinion? And how would Haney versus Davis play out? I think this is a really, really good matchup between these two. I think watching Davis yesterday, having been ringside for Garcia is so much faster. It's crazy. His hand speed is really, really fast. And he will touch Gervonta. He will. I don't know. Like you rarely see Gervonta hurt. So as much as people talk about Gervonta's punch power, even the opposite way, you don't see him hurt often. So I don't know if Ryan's got the punch power to put a dent in him. If he hasn't got the punch power, then his fitness levels for 12 rounds are going to have to be crazy because we all know Gervonta eventually will start to close the distance. He'll get in. And look, if he lands clean on Ryan, he's knocking him out. If he lands clean on any guy at 135 or 140, I think he's going to knock you out. So it's going to be a tough night's work. But I have a feeling that Ryan will be winning, but then we'll get stopped late. That's what I think. And maybe very, very late. As for Haney versus Davis, not sure. I think I might favor Haney in that one, but not sure. But look, Ryan versus Tanks, probably right now in terms of fights announced, it's the biggest fight of 2023. James Davey says, thank goodness, Ade, this will make the 4-hour wait at Eurotunnel bearable. I don't know how people do that. I've never done the Eurotunnel before. I don't know how people do that. I'd rather just get a plane very quickly there, 25 minutes. JD_05 says, are you familiar with the 7-0 cruiserweight prospect, Vidal Riley? He fights with Sky Sports and Boxer, and he's the former head coach of KSI. I am very familiar with him. He was supposed to fight on the recent Chris Billam Smith card as well. I think he pulled out because he was injured. Very good boxer. Very, very good boxer. It'll be interesting to see what development we see from him this year, but hopefully he just stays busy. And by the end of the year, we can make a proper judgment on him. Stuart Smith says, when do Matchroom announce their 2023 schedule? All I can see is one for the 4th of February. Yeah, that 4th of February one's in the US. I think the first Matchroom card in the UK, I think, is going to be Lee Wood. The reason I say that is because I just went on Lee Wood's Instagram and he says to Eddie on the Instagram, you guys can go and check it, when are we going to announce this, or should we announce this? So I think there's a big, big announcement incoming for Lee Wood. The options are Mauricio Lara. It won't be Josh Warrington, I don't think, or maybe it's a trip to America for Leo Santa Cruz, but that's them moving up a weight. So I think we're going to get an announcement of, I think, Lara versus Lee Wood, or Lee Wood versus Lara, in Nottingham, which I think might be the first fight card of the year. That's what I think is going to happen. Remember, it was a fight that was supposed to happen. Lee Wood got injured. I think they're going to run it back. And boy, the kahunas on Lee Wood to fight that crazy man. Boy. Paul Moss, Eden, Ade, even Paul, Happy New Year, brother. apologies, says, good evening, Ade. Hope you're well and hope everything else is good. Time for a good catch up. It is indeed. It is indeed. Soldier Boy Health and Fitness says, evening, Ade. Evening, Soldier Boy. What else have we got here? Just trying to look for questions. A lot of you are saying, what's up, Ade? Hello, Ade. Thank you very much for all of those. I'm just trying to look for questions as well. Shane Costello says, do you get to meet many fighters and or watch them in the gym nowadays? If so, what is it like? Yeah, I do obviously get to meet loads of fighters and go down to gyms and see them as well. It's good. I think it's good. I think for me, it's an education as well. Just to see them in the gym. You get to see a bit more. You know, when you hear a lot of people say fighters left it in the gym as opposed to maybe it wasn't great on the night and they look good in the gym. So it's quite good to compare. But it's also an appreciation for the fighters as well. I think when you see them in the gym sparring and sort of hitting the bags and the pad work, I think you have a bit more of an appreciation for them. But yeah, I'm obviously very fortunate with what I do that I get to go to gyms and obviously see them behind the scenes at events as well. And yeah, they're really nice guys. Honestly, all fighters are really, really nice. Obviously, I used to dig out quite a lot of fighters. I still do. That can be a bit awkward when I've made a video basically dissing a fighter, then I see them a couple of weeks later. But hey, it is what it is, man. It is what it is. Jake Jansen says, big man is back. Tank has been pro for 10 years and has never even fought a real world champion. What are they waiting for with him? Tank's got some undercover good wins, though, you know. Like when he fought Pedraza, I think that was a solid win. I thought the Usyk Cruz one is going to look better over time because I think Usyk Cruz is a bit of a problem. But yeah, look, they're going now. I think this is the time to go now. He's 28. I think he's removed the shackles of Floyd Mayweather and Leonard Ellerby, who many were saying were the reason he weren't fighting some of those big names. And let's see. I think once he fights Ryan Garcia, especially if he beats Ryan Garcia, and then he's going to want the undisputed with Devon. Although I think Ryan could be a 2-fight deal, but look, he's going to want to go now. And I think he will go. I think he will go. He's now become, I don't know if he's a pay-per-view star, but he's definitely a pay-per-view attraction. He fills arenas. I think it's go time now. I think it will be. Chris Rock says, why is Dillian questioning AJ and his training team, considering how lost he looks since leaving Tibbs? Is that what he's doing? I've not seen that. I haven't seen any Dillian interviews. I don't know. Yeah, it's a bit cheeky when you consider that Dillian White's also had those issues as well, you know, leaving Mark Tibbs and going with a trainer and now with Buddy McGurk. So he's obviously doing exactly the same thing. Or maybe it's just the start of them sort of chatting shit to each other, because obviously that's a fight that Eddie looks like he wants to make in the summer. But yeah, I think Dillian has no right to be throwing stones in glass houses, if I'm honest with you. No right at all. But those two have obviously got something in the past, and that's probably why. Super chat here from Zach Vasco, really appreciate it. It says, blazing one while listening. Thoughts on Itoma? Obviously everyone's talking about him, right? Everyone. And clearly there's something there. Clearly there's something there. I always wait though. I think everyone gets a bit overexcited, don't they? Sometimes I feel like you've got to wait a little bit. Let's see something first before we all jump to conclusions. But blaze another one for me if you can, please, Zach. Super chat here from JD_05. I bet you were absolutely gutted when you couldn't do the end of year live stream. I don't know why I'm laughing. I was livid. I wasn't gutted. I was livid that we didn't do it. But you know, it's just another week. We've got so much planned for the channel. And look, I'm doing one now. But yeah, I was gutted that we didn't do one when we should have done one. What else have we got here? 2 secs. What's this one? Jake Fimo says, Ade, you're going to be in London for Misfits 4. You and Wade are a great duo. Yes, we start with the Misfit stuff. For those hardcore boxing fans that don't know what he's talking about KSI's fight on the weekend coming. All the build-up starts this Wednesday. Wade flies in, I think, tomorrow. So yeah, looking forward to it. Obviously, I host the event. And you know what? As much as people like to diss them, I find them quite fun. I find them fun, entertaining. And I think a lot of boxers could learn from the way some of these sort of YouTubers, influencers promote themselves. It's on here. Okay, says, good to see another live Ade. Who do you think will have the best 2023? I think Bivol will go crazy this year. Best pound, beat the pound for pound #1, and a solid guy who's pretty much a cruiser convincingly. Yeah, I think Bivol, I want to say he'll have a good year, but I don't know what the plan is for Bivol. It doesn't look like it's going to be Canelo next. Even if it's not Canelo next, I think Boatsi would be fantastic as an opportunity for Boatsi. You'd have to favor Bivol to beat Boatsi. And then if he does get past Boatsi and Beterbiev gets past Yarde, what do you do if you're Bivol? Do you go Beterbiev for undisputed at 175? Or do you go Canelo undisputed potentially at 168? He's got options, and all the options he's got right now are good. So yeah, I expect him to have a good year. I expect Xander Zayas, a top-ranked prospect, to have a good year as well. Dalton Smith, I think will show us a few good things this year. I think there's a few boxers that will have good years. I think quite a few had good 2022s as well. I think we maybe like to sleep on 2022. Some boxers had standout years, and I expect to see a lot of the same in 2023. I think the heavyweight division is going to be really interesting this year. Obviously, we hope we get Usyk, Fury or Fury Usyk. I'm very, very interested to see what they do with Joe Joyce, because the risk reward, like who wants to fight him? No one. He's not that big a draw where you're going to get paid millions. So it's going to be interesting to find opponents for him. Daniel Dubois, AJ, Wilder. Hopefully we get Wilder Ruiz. But yeah, I think the heavyweight division is really good. And I think Jared Anderson's going to gate crash sort of someone in the top 10, top 15 as well. Relaxing Sounds 101 says, big fan Ade, who you picking for the Tank Garcia fight? Tank. Picking Tank. I think Garcia is a lot better than people giving him credit for, but I think Tank's just it's just gonna get to him, innit? He's just gonna honestly I think he's just gonna get to him. Another super chat here from JD_05. Really appreciate it, brother. Thank you. Says, what are your thoughts on people saying AJ needs a tune-up fight for Dillian White? I sent you a DM the other day saying White could have done with a tune-up fight for Jermaine Franklin. Oh, that's you. Okay, cool. No, I don't think so. I've sort of made my opinion sort of clear on this one. I think AJ could have gone straight in with Dillian White. Like I hosted the event for White Franklin, and I didn't think White looked very good at all. That being said, I think it sometimes takes a while to get in sync with a new trainer. I'm not quite sure how long he had with Buddy McGirt. Now he'll be going into his second fight camp, so I expect him to look a lot better. But I don't think the problem is I don't think AJ looked that bad against Usyk. That's my thing. I thought AJ actually looked okay. I think Usyk was just better. So it's not like AJ's coming off a knockout defeat or he got blown away where you then mentally have to recover. I think the problem for AJ, maybe why they think he needs a tune-up fight, is because of this trainer situation. If AJ was still with Robert Garcia, they wouldn't be saying tune-up fight. They would have gone straight in. Because now he's going to have to work out things with a new trainer. Maybe that's why. But I think AJ beats Dillian White. I really do. The Dillian White that I've seen recently, I think AJ destroys. But again, I've probably got my AJ hat on when I'm saying that. What we got here? Base the Kid, the hardcore casual. Sorry to burst everyone's bubble, but Gervonta won't be fighting Ryan in April. Screenshot this comment. Interesting that he says that, because look, I can't really tell you exactly what I know, but let's just say there are 100 conversations behind the scenes right now that I have with the big wigs at DAZN, and 99.9999% of them think this fight's happening. So like, I'll be very disappointed if it doesn't. But then again, like I said this about Fury AJ. I hope Base is wrong, but this is boxing. I mean, I think we are all fully aware of how much boxing can disappoint us. But from what I know, as someone that works on the broadcast that will be hosting this event alongside Showtime, this fight is happening. But again, this is boxing, so I can understand why Base is a bit more sort of apprehensive or just not thinking it will go ahead than I am. Super chat here from Johnny Martin says, AJ will only fight Volin and White in 23. That's it. He's too fragile mentally to step in with Wilder and Fury. I think, you know, as much as I want to sort of go against that, I think he's too, I don't know if fragile is the right word, but I do think he needs to just be a bit strong mentally. And I think that's the thing, though. I think if he were to beat Otto Volin and White, I think we will get to see that AJ that we think is strong. So I think the idea is you beat those two, and then AJ, I'm not going to say he's back, but he's better than he is now. He's in a better place mentally than he is now as well. So I think that's the plan with them. And I think AJ could knock both of those guys out as well. I think he'll knock out Otto Volin, and I think he'll knock out Dillian White. So I think the idea is you build him up like that, and then where is he going to be after those two knockouts? I think he'll be in a strong place. So we'll see. We'll see how he does. This AJ sort of not being mentally strong thing. Is it just because of the outburst after the Usyk fight? Or has anyone seen something else? If it's just about the outburst, I've always said that speaking to fighters after they've been hit in the head, it's just wrong. Honestly, it's just wrong. I've done it. I've interviewed fighters and I'm interviewing fighters after they've had tough fights, and I can see they're not really there. Like, I mean, obviously they're there, but mentally, their eyes look a bit glazed over. They're like 50% there. So AJ having that outburst after a tough fight, it was wrong. But I'm telling you now, once you've been hit in the head a few times and someone tries to give you a mic or you grab a mic, what's going to come out your mouth ain't going to be correct, ain't going to be right. I think AJ is not as mentally scarred as maybe we think he is. Where are we? We done bases, didn't we? Where's bases one again? Okay, here we are. Metal Box J says, why are reporters too afraid to pull Fury up on these nonsense contradictions? The fans despise the obvious cowardice. Just because you won't get the access again. I know it sounds childish and silly, but if you are a reporter and you do push it a little bit, you just won't get that access. It's that simple. And as a boxing reporter, it's really, really bad if you can't get the access to the WBC heavyweight champion, one of the biggest names in the sport. So I think boxing reporters just tread carefully. I think we've seen, and I know True Geordie is a completely different example. I think we've seen someone push Fury in True Geordie, and I think we all saw the reaction. So it's difficult. Honestly, it's difficult. I remember when before I started even doing any of the boxing stuff professionally, and I used to sit here and I used to say whatever I wanted to say, like literally whatever, didn't give a fuck. I can never be that guy again because I would not get any access. Like, they'd cut me off completely. So it's a very, very difficult thing to balance. And I think a few do. I think Rob Tebbett, ID Boxing, I think he does fantastically well at balancing it. Boxing King Media, I think, asks good questions as well. I think Coogan has his own way of doing it, and it might not come across as sort of hardcore, but he has a way of sort of almost making it friendly, but asking questions. But I think Rob does the best job at it, but it's not easy at all. Terrence Campbell says, have you thought about hosting documentaries and more in-depth type stuff? As I think your personality would suit perfectly. My agent is on the case. That's interesting that you would say that. I've got an agent now, peeps. What's happened to me? Hey, I've got an agent. Jeez. Shin David says, I can name 12 guys that easily clear Tank on the pound for pound list. I can't wrap my head around people saying he's a top pound for pound fighter. Yeah, he's not. I don't know anyone. I actually don't know anyone that says he's a pound for pound top 10. I mean, look, he's unbeaten, so you've got to give him credit, but yeah, there are certainly 10 guys in front of him. 100%. I mean, I even find it quite cringe that he has that belt. Like, Tank's a big name to the point where you don't need that belt. We all know who the undisputed champ of 135 is. So I even find that quite weird. I find it weird when the announcers mention him as being a champion. I'm like, what are you doing? You're trying to confuse people. We know he's not a champion, or not a real champion anyway. So I just find it quite weird. But yeah, as a pound for pound top 10, no, he's not pound for pound top 10. Not in my eyes anyway. I don't think so. 2020 Vision says Bivol beats Canelo at 168. Won't be easy though. I'm not quite sure about that. We don't know what Bivol will look like. 168 pounds. He's a career 175. Yes, he's not the biggest 175, but then having to boil down the extra weight and what it takes out of you, I speak to a lot of fighters now about the weight cut thing. I'm telling you now, they absolutely despise it. It's the hardest thing. And bear in mind, these guys do all the road work, do all the sparring sessions, which in itself will be difficult, but they all talk about the weight cut being the most difficult thing, and then being able to rehydrate properly. So that will take a lot out of Bivol to make 168. I know what you mean. After seeing Bivol fight recently, I still favor Bivol, but I don't know, man. Canelo at that weight's a killer. What else have we got? I saw a couple of super chats coming. Let me quickly read them. Johnny Martin says, not just the outbursts, he's only talking in empty phrases, never dares to be himself. To me, that seems he's insecure, fragile in himself. You know what, this AJ not being himself thing, a lot of people have said that over the years. What do people want to see? Because this AJ that we're seeing is the only AJ I've seen. Like, I've not seen an AJ behind the scenes that's any different. The AJ that talks in front of the cameras is the AJ that I speak to, and the way he talks. So when people say not being himself, I don't quite get what people mean. Don't get me wrong. Look, I've seen some AJ interviews and I'm like, oh God, bit of a car crash. But in terms of this not being himself thing, I don't get it. Unless people are talking about him being the guy that got sort of put on tag 15 years ago, unless you want him to become that guy again, it's not going to happen. And why should he? The AJ you're seeing is the AJ. And trust me, I've been around him. I've been in rooms with him. That's the same AJ. This AJ is not being himself, or he's being fake, or this. It's not true. It's not true, peeps. I'm telling you that it's not true. Oh, Jake Jansen, super chat says Crawford has been a pro since 2008. His CV is a joke. Ain't great, is it? I love T-Bud. I do. I really, really love Terence Crawford. And look, when it's all said and done, when you open up his CV, it's yeah, it's not the best. It's not the best at all. He really needs some big marquee wins on it. He might not even get them. It might not get them. It's stranger because he almost gets away with it, because we all talk about him as being the pound for pound, worst top three. So he gets away with it. But yeah, the CV's not great, is it? It's not great at all, actually. Another super chat here from Alexander Wilson. Again, appreciate all the super chats. Thank you. We are going to get back to the questions straight after this. Jake Donovan of Boxing Scene said that Hearn is planning Canelo Ryder at Wembley with Sonny Edwards Martinez as the co-main event for May. Thoughts? Take my money. I only say take my money because I'm going to be working on it. But I'd love to see that. I'd love to see. I love the idea of the superstars coming over here. I love it. We rarely get it. Like, I remember, I think I spoke about this the other day on one of my videos, how excited I was when GGG came over, when he fought Kell Brook, or when Lomachenko came over and fought Luke Campbell. We've had others as well, Terence Crawford, but he wasn't that big when he fought Ricky Burns. I want to see more superstars come over here. And I think people will be quietly surprised as to how quick Wembley would sell out. I think there'll be so many boxing fans wanting to see Canelo. And by the way, Sonny Edwards versus Martinez, I mean, geez, I'm so happy for Sonny to get the opportunity. I'm a big fan of Sonny Edwards, and I think he'll beat Martinez. The fight I want to see is him versus Bam. But man, it would surprise me, because obviously Canelo has been fighting in Vegas for so long. And I spoke to John Ryder at the Josh Warrington card, and he says, look, he'd rather go Vegas. He wants to see his name up in lights, and I get that. But man, good luck to him, man. Good luck. I like the idea of Canelo in the UK. I really, really like the idea of seeing Canelo at Wembley Stadium. What else we got? Where were we? What's this? Jake Jansen says UK should be having some massive events in the UK. We have 4 heavyweights in the top 10. When has that ever happened? It hasn't. It hasn't happened. We got some, and then even just the guys outside that as well. We've got some really good guys coming up as well. Think of like Fabio Wardley, British champion, looked good as well against Nathan Gorman. So yeah, I mean, we should be announcing really big cards. I did say this to what's his name, Ben Shalom. When I spoke to Ben a few days ago, I was like, you know, there's Queensbury, there's The Zone, there's Sky now, and there's another one, Wasserman, who does stuff on Channel 5. I feel like we're spreading it so thin for this small island that we have. Imagine this was just one promoter with all this talent. And like whoever, I'm not just trying to say it's Matchroom or Sky, but imagine it was just one promoter with all of this. Imagine how good the shows would be week in, week out. That'd be incredible, because there is some really good talent, but it's being spread. What talent we have is being spread over 4 broadcasters. That's just the problem, isn't it? That's the problem. Andre Ward Johnson says Yarde will beat Beterbiev. Not sure about that, brother. Not sure about that. Honestly, though, one of those fights I'm really, really looking forward to. I've not seen what the undercard is, and I have no idea. Is it pay-per-view? I have no idea anything about this card, but I'm really looking forward to that main event. I feel like it might be a little shootout. I expect Beterbiev, based on what have you done for me lately, to win the shootout, but I expect it to be a good shootout nonetheless. Becca Williams says not enough people talking about Caleb Plant. Well, that's because, unless something's happened, but that's because we are waiting for this Benavidez announcement. Like, what's going on? Like, get a move on. I did talk about him the other day, though. I think Boxing Scene gave him their knockout of the year with that knockout of Anthony Durrell, which was crazy. But yeah, we just want to see the announcement of this Benavidez fight, or if not Benavidez, someone, please. Like now, Demetrius Andre's moved up to 168. That fight, something, please. Scott Arbuckle says, Ade, what do you think is the plan for Dillian White this year? Do you think he'll get another shot at a world title or the world title? No chance. I don't think so. I mean, look, I mean, anything can happen in boxing, but I almost feel like the belts are going to be sort of held up between Fury and Usyk for the next 12 months. So I don't expect him to. But look, there are so many good fights out there for Dillian White. It'd be interesting to see when he comes back, because initially we were told, or at least the rumors were, that it was going to be AJ White in March. Now we're hearing it will be AJ White potentially in the summer. So what's White going to do in between? I wonder who he's going to fight. You look down sort of the list of potential opponents, and I'm not quite sure. Like, would there be any interest in maybe a White versus a Luis Ortiz or something like that? I don't know. Is that a headline main event? I'm not quite sure, but it'd be interesting to see what they do before the AJ fight. Or maybe he just sits it out. Maybe he sits it out and stays in the gym with Buddy McGirt. I hope he doesn't. I hope he fights in March. I mean, the fight against Jermaine Franklin, although it went the full distance, it wasn't like he took a punishment. It wasn't like he wasn't injured or anything. So hopefully he fights very, very soon, because he needs to stay busy. I just saw a super chat come in. Let's quickly read that one. Ade, I recently watched your 2021 documentary about your upbringing and journey. It was amazing, and I'm surprised to hear that when you got your first presenting job in Africa, you were crap at it. I was awful. Awful. This is why you just not got to give up. I was awful, and luckily there was a guy there, because I actually was they made me present Premier League football, and it just wasn't very good. And it's funny because I do that now for Talk Sport, but I just wasn't good. And the guy was like, okay, you know what? That didn't work out, but we'll call you when we start our boxing. And I was like, he ain't gonna call me. And he did. He called me back a few months later, and that's how it started, all this boxing journey, because he called me, and luckily enough, I started to do all their boxing. But yeah, look, don't give up. If at first it doesn't work, keep on trying. All right, loads of you. I told you loads of messages are going to come in. Ben McGrath says, do you think Fury might be fighting Usyk a bit soon after Christmas, when he'll have been eating and drinking? He might not have time to prepare properly. Now, Fury's my long gone are the days where I even sort of think Fury won't win a fight, or won't be ready, or won't be okay. He will. He just will be okay. Fury's Fury. He finds a way. He is an incredible boxer. And although he doesn't look body beautiful like an athlete, he clearly is an athlete. Like, when you see him, he posts these things of him running and jogging, and he just doesn't even look like he runs properly, but he just gets the job done. Honestly, there'll be a study on Tyson Fury soon, because I think he's incredible. Like, he doesn't make sense how good he is. For someone that big to move how he does, baffles me. Everything baffles me about him. Okay, says, I think you're a little harsh on White sometimes. He looked very bad last year and is old now, but he may well have something left. Yeah, even if he does have something left, I think AJ is just a lot better than Dillian White. Honestly, I really, really do. I look at White's last performances, and I've just not been impressed. I don't know what's happened. I know he got the job done against Povetkin, but wasn't impressed by it. And the fight before, he got knocked out by Povetkin, and this fight against Jermaine Franklin, I think he is on the decline. Don't get me wrong, he's on the decline to the point where I think everyone that's a top 5 or top 6 beats him. It doesn't mean I don't think he'll beat guys in and around the top 15. I think he's way capable of that. But I think all the top guys beat him. I think Wilder beats him, Fury, and this is not a shame. Fury beats him, Joe Joyce beats him, AJ beats him. And then it's a case of how will he match up against Hergovitz and Zhili Zhang and all the rest of those guys. Jared Anderson's called him out. I just think he'll struggle against the very best. So yeah, maybe I'm a bit harsh on him, but I just think as an elite heavyweight, I don't know if he's that anymore. What's this? Andre Ward Johnson says, Tank is a dangerous brother, but Shakur will do him. Possibly. I mean, let's see what Shakur looks like at 135 first before we start. And I do it as well, so I'm guilty. Before we start calling him the greatest and the best, let's see what he does. Ade, you won't tell us where Adam Smith is, but do you know why he's off air? I don't know. I kind of heard rumors, and I don't want to be the channel that spread rumors, so I think my answer is going to stay that, as I don't. Yeah. 2020 Vision says, Ade, if Usyk becomes undisputed and beats Fury, for me, he slides into the top 10 of all time. Undisputed at cruiserweight, undisputed at heavyweight, Olympic champion, I think as an amateur as well, European champion. Mate. Mate. And he's doing all these fights away from home. Not that, you know, he fights in the Ukraine or anywhere, but he's going on the road, right? He's having these fights all over. It doesn't matter, wherever it is, he's basically going into people's backyards as well most of the time. I don't know enough about the history of the sport. Like I feel like I've got my own top 10, but I feel like it's not strong enough for me to say yay or nay on that. I might have to bring Spencer Fearon in, but I mean, if you become undisputed in 2 weight classes, you have to be in the conversation. You just have to be in the conversation. How can you not be? Jesus Christ, that would be incredible. That would be incredible. So wait a minute, what if, will you apply the same logic to Bivol if Bivol becomes undisputed in both as well? But yeah, no, it's incredible if he does that. Super chat here from Alexander Wilson. It says, I think global distribution of boxing has changed the game where location isn't as significant. In America, we wouldn't watch live Sky boxing cards, which is why Americans didn't want to travel. Yeah, boxing has changed a lot. And I don't know sometimes if it's changed for the better. Sometimes I think it has. We've opened up new markets. We're seeing fighters get paid a lot now. We're seeing fights in the Middle East. And I honestly don't mind that. We're seeing the growth of the sport once again in places like Australia and Spain. Look what Spain have done in recent years with the likes of Kiko and Sandor Martin. I still think, and it still bugs me a lot, that we've not seen the growth of, or what at least what I want to see in Africa. I still don't understand how we haven't had DAZN go to Africa or Eddie go to Africa. I don't understand it. I'm sure there's a reason behind it, but I feel like, look at the size of that market and the amount of, like, I have been to gyms in Nigeria, Ghana, Namibia, and Zimbabwe. And I'm not joking. It reminds me of the old, you know, back in the day when you see the old Philly gyms where you just see hungry fighters waiting for an opportunity. I mean, hungry, desperate. And I'm like, when can we do an event out there, man? That's why I always bang on about AJ versus Wilder in Nigeria, Chaos in Lagos, because then it gives an opportunity for some of these young kids over there to go on that fight card, obviously right at the start of it, but go on there and get an opportunity, a leg up. I can't believe that we still haven't had sort of one of these big broadcasters go to Africa. I know ESPN do their stuff out there, but I'm talking about DAZN or Top Rank or someone. Get to Africa, man. What is going on? A couple of super chats just quickly popped in. Who's this one? Django Skywalker says, just showing support, brother. Thank you very much, my man. Appreciate it. Alexander Wilson says, who will go down in history as the greatest Nigerian NBA basketball player? Giannis or Hakeem Olajuwon? Oh, Hakeem. I mean, Giannis could do it. He could. Obviously, look, he's got one title. He's got an MVP to his name as well. But Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon, nah, he's got 2 titles with the Houston Rockets. Like, for me, like, he's not just one of the greatest sort of Nigerian. He's one of the greatest NBA players of all time. But it's a good question. I like that kind of question. I love my basketball, by the way. I'll just get back to the questions. Where were we? Read that one. We read that one. What's this one? Mohammed Zishan says, Ade, what's your favorite books that you've read? I'm reading a lot of books by an author right now called Malcolm Gladwell. Kind of thinking books, really, just when I'm when I need to sort out my head, because my head goes all over the place sometimes. As for just kind of sort of books, I've got a lot of books at home. Muhammad Ali, which I love. What have I got here? I've got a couple of books here. Hip Hop Decoded is quite good. But we'll move on. But anyone, go and read about Hip Hop Decoded. That's a good book. Carragher's autobiography is good. Andy Cole, that's good. He signed that and gave that to me. This one, the Boxing Encyclopedia, which I clearly need because my boxing knowledge isn't good enough. What's this one? Brendan Owusu says, I can't see Usyk ever losing. If he retires before father time kicks in, sport of boxing, and he is the best at boxing. He's so good. So good. Honestly, I don't know if he's the best at boxing, but he's incredible. Really, really good. And I think that's maybe why I say back to AJ a bit, but that's maybe why I say I think AJ would smoke White, because I think Usyk's incredible. And I was watching AJ against him, and I think, man, you've made improvements. You're just up against a genius. You're not that bad, AJ. Don't be too harsh on yourself. 786 NAF says, my top 5 most intriguing fights of 2023. Joyce versus Wilder, Boazzi versus Callum Smith, Canelo versus David Benavidez, Ben versus Virgil Ortiz, Lara versus Kiko Martinez. Is that 6? Why do I feel like that's 6? Might be 5. Joyce Wilder. Very intriguing, isn't it? Jesus Christ. Like that's a fight where you literally are on the edge of your seat from minute 1, like second 1. Take my money. Boazzi versus Callum Smith. I don't understand why this fight just hasn't been made, or like what's the holdup? Callum Smith was supposed to fight Lyndon Arthur. That's not happening. We don't know what's going on with Boazzi. I don't think he's injured. Do it. Good fight. Very interesting. Canelo versus David Benavidez. Love it. Won't happen. Canelo's come out so many times and said he's not going to fight a fellow Mexican again, so I doubt it. Ben versus Virgil Ortiz. I mean, I just want to see Ben back. Let's see what happens. Again, Ben's got this big cloud over his head right now. Let's see what happens. But Ben versus Virgil Ortiz would be interesting because Ben can hit, Ben can hit. Virgil Ortiz can hit as well. It's a good shootout. Lara versus Kiko Martinez, just carnage. I just think, I was going to say I think Lara is too fresh, but we saw what Kiko done recently. We saw what he done to, who was it? Jordan Gill. So there's still so much left with Kiko. But yeah, great fights. I love all those. I love every single one of them. Oh, look at this one. I'm not even going to read it. Actually, let's read it. Jason says, Ade has turned his back on AJ. Not a true fan, but a glory fan. I'm going to let you lot respond to him. I don't have the energy. What's this? What else we got? 2 sets, guys. JC7 says, what do you think is next for Fabio Wardley? I would love to see him versus Dubois. Obviously, that Dubois, I'd like to see that now, by the way, as well. I'd like to see that. Dubois won't happen. Obviously, Dubois isn't going to fight for the British title. Frank has probably got other ideas for him. It won't be easy. Whatever is next for Fabio won't be easy. Thingy was ringside. Fraser Clark, who, by the way, is enormous, like an enormous man. He was ringside. He wants to fight for the British title. So it could be Fabio Wardley versus Fraser Clark sometime in 2023. I think that he might not defend the British title next and maybe just have another European fight. This is Fabio I'm talking about. And then I expect him to get in there with Fraser Clark sometime in the summer. And Jesus Christ, that's not going to be easy because Fraser Clark is one hell of a unit. But Fabio has this thing where he's almost a bit like a street fighter. There's no back foot fight and he just comes straight at you. And he's not small either. It's just that Fraser's so big and he's a good boxer. It'll be a tough night for Fabio, but I wouldn't rule him out. At all. All right. A couple of super chats just came in. So I'm going to quickly jump to those. Where are we? Okay, Alexander Wilson was basically just getting at what he meant. He meant we could watch Sky Boxing Card live. Or we couldn't watch Sky Boxing Card live without an illegal stream. It was such a pain. Okay, so basically you're trying to say that distribution is actually good now. Yeah, it is very, very good. It is. And I think we are seeing that with a lot of US fight fans. What I've noticed recently as well, there's a lot more. I think the British fight fans are very knowledgeable on US boxing because we've grown up just loving US boxing, right? I think every fight fan I know over here has grown up watching boxing on HBO or whatever. I didn't think the same about US boxing fans to UK fights, but I've noticed over the last sort of 5 years or so that US boxing fans have become so much more knowledgeable on UK fighters. Whereas we just know all about American fighters. I didn't think it was the same, but now I've noticed it is the same. And I guess it goes back to that distribution, as to what you're saying. All right, super chat here from, how do I pronounce this name? Guillaume says, much as I disagree, either decision, Ellis fight shows the levels of a fighter's preparation. It's sad to see because you were good, but I wanted you to be great. The thing about Rashidi Ellis, so obviously he's talking about Rashidi Ellis, who got beat by majority decision yesterday. Again, I talk about the fact that Rashidi Ellis he's had one round of fighting in over 2 years. I think it's around 2.5 years. One round. So he beat Alexis Rocha. I spoke about Rocha the other day. And then he fought someone who was, I think, 16-16 and blew him out in a round. He's had one round of boxing since before last night. It's just not enough. It's a joke. It's not enough. The same thing with Jan Ennis, who had one fight last year. Demetrius Andrade, who had one fight in 40 months. These guys are just not busy enough. So yeah, it's a shame to see Rashidi lose. I think they'll do that fight again, and hopefully the rounds would have helped him, because he looked shattered after round 9, and you knew it was coming. But again, that's just because he's not fighting. He's not fighting at all. Super chat here from Jake Jansen says, crazy how Canelo is 6 for pound. He's fighted since 2017. GGG twice. GGG 2. Fielding, Jacobs. SK. Who's SK again? My brain's Smith. Billy Joe Saunders. Avni Yildirim. Who's SK? Plant, Bivol, GGG. No one in boxing does that. Yeah, I mean, Canelo's resume is frightening. Honestly, it's absolutely frightening. And I think it's funny because Demetrius Andrade was coming for him the other day, talking about he's fighting another bum, because he was hearing about him fighting John Ryder. And I'm like, dude, do you want to put your CV down? Oh, Sergey Kovalev, SK. Do you want to put your CV down and put Canelo's? Like, it's light and day. It's light and day. Honestly, what Canelo's been doing for the last 3-4 years is insane. It's insane. And even this recent Dimitri Bivol fight, insane. And not only that, you lose to Dimitri Bivol, you don't just, I'm going to take the year out like a lot of these boxers do, one fight a year. You go straight in there with Gennady Golovkin. Come on, man. He deserves so much more respect. I think like he doesn't get enough. I wonder if it's because of the backstory about him, and I think people obviously still think maybe the drug issue. I'm not quite sure what it is, but he deserves way more. What's this? Clean 1-2 says, about a year ago, I said to you, Crawford cleans out 154 and wins at least one bout at 160. What do you say now? I say no. Absolutely no chance. When you say clean out, I guess, look, you only have to fight one man to clean out the division, really, the undisputed man, and that's Jermell Charlo. That's a tough fight for Crawford. Crawford's physically obviously grown into the 147 division now, but the Charlos aren't small. Jermell Charlo is not small. So he's going to be undersized, and Jermell Charlo's skillful as well. Like, you know, he's a much better than boxer than Jermall Charlo. And then 160, come on, bro. Come on, man. No. Come on, bro. Andrew Spence. Yes, Ade. Good to see you online live. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to Andrew Spence, the man I owe a lot to where I am now. So appreciate it as always, brother. Thank you very much. Jake Jansen says, why didn't they announce Tank versus Garcia yesterday? Would have been perfect. Both in the ring would sell it more rather than doing an Instagram post. Agreed. I think that was an opportunity missed. I wonder if there's still so much going on behind the scenes in terms of broadcaster. Obviously, yesterday was Showtime. Ryan Garcia's DAZN. But yeah, Tank getting in the ring. Sorry, Ryan Garcia getting in the ring yesterday, going nose to nose with Tank. The internet would have exploded. But nope, they didn't do it. I don't know who makes these decisions, but I think it's one they got wrong. Pound Entertainment Media says, I wouldn't be surprised if Ryan struggles to make weight, which will stop the fight from happening. Like he might be too drained and not want to go through with a fight against Davis. If that is the case, then he's in trouble. You can't talk the talk that he's been talking for the last 3 months about Tank, and then a fight gets made and you don't make the weight. He's got to. He's like looking at him now, like in photos recently, he looks like he's looking after himself. I think I asked this question about Tank. Does Tank live the life in between fights? I think Ryan does. Ryan always looks fit. Like, hence why he's always got his bloody top off. So hopefully he makes that weight. But I remember when I interviewed him after his last fight, and I asked him about going back down to 135, and he said, no, not doing it, not happening. So it surprises me that he's only been able to get a pound increase on 135 on Tank. I thought they might meet halfway and do it like at 137 or something. So look, we'll see. But he can't not do this fight. Like if this fight doesn't happen because Ryan doesn't make the weight, Jesus Christ, man. Jesus Christ. It's not good. It's not good. Pavan Sahuta says, how far do you think Johnny Fisher will go? Difficult to say that. I mean, you never know. That British, maybe. Look, bear in mind, Fabio Wardley was a white collar boxer who's now British champion. So British. Anything other than that's a bonus, but I think British will be pretty good for him. Skeptic says, can Eubank beat GGG in the second half of 2023? I need to see how he looks against Liam Smith before I say that. Let's understand, Canelo beat GGG. And Canelo's like miles above, and that was at 168, miles above Eubank. So as much as GGG is obviously no longer what he once was, he might have enough in the tank to still get rid of Eubank. He might. But I need to see how Eubank looks against Liam Smith, a fight that I'm really looking forward to as well. Ben Shalom offered me tickets to the fight. And I was like, no, I'm doing a live watch along. I don't need your tickets. Harambe says, this isn't boxing related, but do you believe Conor McGregor will return to the UFC this year? I pray he does. I pray he does. He's obviously got a problem with USADA. I mean, that guy is jacked. So there's going to be an issue of him passing the drugs test. But if he can pass the drugs test, then hopefully we get him back in the UFC, because I miss him. I do miss Conor McGregor. Like, he was fan. Conor McGregor at his peak, I'm not just talking as a fighter, just in terms of selling fights, was insane. Honestly, insane. So I hope that he comes back. A couple of super chats have just popped in. 2 secs, peeps. Just going to quickly read those out. Alexander Wilson, another super chat. Again, appreciate this, brother. Thank you. Says, I remember Don King and Lou DiBella tried to bring Samuel Peter to Nigeria for a fight when he had the belt, but they said the country didn't want to invest. Yeah, I think it's in a different time now. Look, I've just recently come back from Nigeria. I don't know if you guys know, I was out there. If you guys follow me on Instagram, you probably would have seen it. There's some very, very, very wealthy people in Nigeria that I think would put this event on. I really do. And I think it would be big for the economy. I think it would be big for sport in the country. But ultimately, I just think it'll be a great event. I think it'll be a great event. But yeah, and also don't think, this is no disrespect to Samuel Peter. He isn't the move. He isn't the needle mover, is he? I'm talking about AJ versus Wilder. Samuel Peter isn't that, is he? So I think it's a different thing if you go to the table and you bring AJ's name up, as opposed to what it would have been like 20 years ago, bringing up Samuel Peter's name. 20 years ago, 15 years ago, bringing up Samuel Peter's names. Another super chat here says, Ennis hasn't really got a good excuse. Hate when a fighter's excuse is another guy not coming to fight. Like it's their job to give you. Yeah, I can't stand that. So basically, and a lot of people were doing that for Ennis as well, saying, oh, the guy was negative. He didn't want to fight. It's like, dude, go, he's there. Go, he's in the ring. Go and somehow sort it out. Doesn't want to fight. Go and cut the ring off and cause some damage. Not every fighter is going to want to have a phone booth fight with you. You're going to come up against different styles of fighters who are not going to want to make this easy. I hate when it's not just boxers. Every person does this. Like managers do this about other football teams, and they were negative and they parked the bus. If you're American, you probably don't even know what that phrase is, but basically they parked the bus. Like they didn't want to move beyond the 16-yard line. Like Ennis needs to do better. And again, he's going to come up against guys that fight like that, and it's up to him to try and find a way to stop it. But yeah, I'm happy you mentioned that, because a load of people are making excuses for Ennis's performance. The guy didn't come to fight. The fuck's he supposed to do? go toe-to-toe with Ennis and get knocked out. Sergit Dami says, what happened to Billy Joe Saunders? Just don't want to fight anymore. I think that's the simple answer. I mean, there were, I think, some conversations with Eddie about whether or not they could make the Eubank fight at 168, I think it was. And I think Boxer were interested in it as well. So look, he might come back, but I think he's going to want a lot of money to come back. And is he worth the money? I think he probably still is. I think a Eubank, Billy Joe. So if Eubank gets past Liam Smith and Billy Joe calls him out, I think it's a big fight. I think it's a big fight. In fact, you know what? I'm going to do a video on that fight. I'm looking for a pen to write that down. It's a good fight. I think it makes sense. Flizzy says, I bet you any money Andrade beats almost everyone Canelo has beat. Almost everyone. That's the key. Almost. And again, that, by the way, it could be fact. What you're saying could be true, but almost. Like, would Andrade have jumped up to 175 to fight Kovalev? Not sure. He might have. He wanted the opportunity, but I'm not sure. It's a good point. You know, it's a good point. Would Andrade have broken Billy Joe Saunders' face like Canelo did? No chance. Would he have backed up Callum Smith like that? I don't think so. Don't think so. I don't. Good point. That's a good question. Or good point at least. Anthony Vander says, Ade, what do you think? Is a Coley ceiling? Can he beat White? See, people are gonna accuse me of being anti. People are gonna really accuse me of being anti Dillian White here, but I think Cody beats him. I think Cody could beat Dillian White. I don't know, man. As for what he's ceiling as a heavyweight, it's gonna be difficult. I mean, don't get me wrong, Cody's big, but then he's just a normal size heavyweight. If he were to become a heavyweight, he's just a normal size, like 6'5". They're all 6'5". They're all that big. They're massive. He's got an opportunity. He'll be in the mix, but I don't know, man. I don't know. It's good. It's a good point, though. But I think he beats Dillian White. Say it again. Gene Anthony Parrott says, can you give any details on why DAZN Matchroom roll out all of their schedules? Fights seem slower than ever. I guess they're just behind the scenes trying to make these fights. Honestly, I guess that's what it is. I don't remember, though, sort of promoters ever rolling out events like, here's the next schedule for 4 months. I do remember once where I think PBC brought all their fighters on stage. It looked sick. I remember that. But all the fighters on stage and all their fighters done head-to-heads. That was really good. I'd love Matchroom, DAZN to do something like that. But yeah, I think it's just a case of just trying to make fights, honestly, and just trying to maybe, because Matchroom is now America, UK, and the Middle East. I guess there is this kind of battle as to, okay, what fights go to the US, what fights go to the Middle East, what fights stay in the UK. But hopefully we get an announcement very, very soon. I kind of know when the fights are going to be, because I've kind of got my agent reached out to me and says, Ade, can you hold these dates, and these dates? But I can't really tell you, but I kind of know when they're going to happen. So you'll get an announcement soon. Okay, wait, I'm happy. Okay, so it's pronounced Guillaume. Guillaume. Okay, apologies, Guillaume. Guillaume. All right, let me read this one. Let me read this. P231 says, hi, Ade, please take off AJ, DAZN, and Eddie Hearn payroll hat. Geez, people act like I only get paid by DAZN. Like, I do have a job at TalkSport as well that actually pays more. He's 2-3 in his last 5. Okay, let me read this correctly. Hi, Ade, please take off AJ, DAZN, Eddie Hearn payroll hat. He's 2-3 in his last 5. A lot of his career. What does that mean? Okay, 2-3 in his last 5. Okay, I don't know what that lot of his career bit means. What on earth is going on with his management? Does he still want it anymore? Jesus. I mean, I think I've done 100 videos saying I want AJ to stay more active. I don't think there's anyone that's done more videos than me saying AJ should fight and AJ should stay more active. I was split a bit though. After seeing the way AJ reacted at the back end of the Usyk fight, I was split like, okay, maybe AJ mentally should chill out into the new year. But there was a lot of talk then about the Fury fight. ultimately, I actually think AJ's done a good thing by not fighting for the rest of the year, because I want to see the best AJ. And I think the best AJ needed to press the pause button for a little while, mentally, not physically, mentally. And that's something we can't see. But I think it's something we saw a little bit of the back of the Usyk fight. I've also openly said I think AJ should have stayed with Robert Garcia. I thought that the performance against Usyk was okay. And I think that's also a problem as to why AJ hasn't fought for the last sort of 5 or 6 months. Look, I don't need to have an AJ DAZN or Eddie Hearn hat on to give you my opinion about AJ. I'm very vocal about AJ in terms of what I want him to do and what I want for him as a fighter. And I've always said I want him to be more active. I've said it 100 times. I want AJ to fight 3 times a year. I said it in a video the other day when Eddie said AJ will fight 3 times this year. And I'm like, we've never seen that, or not until he turned pro anyway. So look, I'm like you. It frustrates me. I want to see AJ a lot more busier than he is. I do feel like an AJ fight seems to be so, just everything just seems to take so long. It seems so long. I almost missed this. This is why I really appreciate Canelo. Canelo is May, September, May, September, May, September. It's been like that for ages. Growing up, Floyd was May, September, May, September. AJ needs to get into that rhythm of your fighting like that. For now, it just seems to be all bit scattergun. But yeah, you don't need to dig me about AJ, Eddie Hearn, DAZN hat, because again, before all of that, I'm a boxing fan. Dark Side of the Moon. Big up Ade. Every time. I love these live streams. I love them as well, actually. I do love them. Can't lie. Where we... Oh, this is an interesting one. C_P says, do you think Josh Taylor is past his best after his last performance against Cattrall? And who do you think wins the rematch? I don't know. I think he underestimated Cattrall. Before you guys all attack me, I really do. I think we all underestimated Cattrall. I think we all thought it was going to be easy work for Josh. A lot of people did. So I don't know how fully focused Josh was. My worry for Josh isn't necessarily Cattrall, it's the weight. I think Josh looked awful on the scales. I really do. And I think he struggled on the scales for his last 2 or 3 fights. Now he's been out the ring, for a year. How's he going to look at 140? So I think Josh's problems now are 140. I don't think he's peaked yet. I think there's still a lot left in Josh Taylor. He's had tough fights, but not fights where you feel like they've taken a lot out of him. So I think we're going to see a really good Josh at 147 after this Jack Cattrall fight. And I think he wins the rematch. I think Josh beats him. I do. Oscar Bugler says, bruh, Conor won't be back for a while in the UFC. Even when he does, which will probably be 2024, that'll be his last. People got to accept he's nearly done. He's human, not a Superman. Yeah, he's done. I know he's done. Yeah, but it'll be, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. 2 secs. Just trying to see where we are. Junior D1975 said, what is the money fight in 2023, mate? Keep up the great work. What is the biggest fight financially in 2020? You automatically think Canelo, don't you? Because he almost guarantees you, what, 6, maybe 700,000 buys. Did you see that Frank the other day? And I'm sorry, I do not believe this at all. Frank said that Fury Chisora did 500,000 buys. No, I'm not having it. No, I need to see proof. Like someone needs to show me. So anyway, look back to it. I think the biggest, I think Ryan Garcia Tank could get close to 1 million. I think AJ Wilder will smash 1 million pay-per-view buys, like smash it, but ain't gonna happen. So realistic ones that will happen. I think Fury Usyk will do really good numbers over here. Like I think both of those guys will really sell that fight. But I think the biggest one, just because of what you have to pay to watch an American pay-per-view as well, which is like $100, I think Gervonta Garcia would probably, of all the fights that can happen, I think that will be the biggest fight this year. I think so. Arnab Naf says, ideally, Inoue versus Fulton happens this year. I mentioned that on one of my fights to watch for the year. What's your prediction? I think Inoue finishes him within 8 to 9 rounds. Look, it looks like it might happen as well with Inoue saying he's done at the weight. He's now jumping up in weight class. Yeah, I think Inoue is just a bit special. Sometimes you just get these fighters that just look a bit special, and regardless of a couple of pounds here and there, you think they're going to get the job done. He looks like he has dynamite in his hands. Every time he wears the gloves look so small. It's almost like he's just punching with his fist. But yeah, I'm with you. I think Inoue gets the job done. But hey, don't sleep on Fulton. Don't sleep on him. Deep Random Thinkers, Usyk will complete the boxing game at 100%. World gold, Olympic gold, Ali trophy, undisputed cruiserweight, heavyweight, lineal, undefeated, pound for pound #1, TBE the greatest. Just beauty and symmetry. It's not bad. When you list off the accolades like that, and it isn't just, you know what it is as well. It's the names he's beaten as well. Like when you put the names on paper as well, beat some solid names. So yeah, mad. Francisco Alatore says, have you been to Fella's place, the shrine in Nigeria? Of course I have, brother. He's on about Fela Kuti, by the way, a Nigerian artist, basically like our version of Nigeria, like Bob Marley. And he's got a shrine where everyone just smokes weed and people get on stage and sing. And it's almost like one of those places you have to go if you go to Nigeria. Proper place. And what I like about Fela Kuti's shrine, by the way, as well, is that it's on the mainland. So Nigeria is split. You got the island, which is sort of the developed Nigeria, which is where everyone goes, all the tourists go. And you got the mainland, which is old school Nigeria. And what I like about Fela Kuti's shrine is that it's an old school Nigeria. So you've got to go through a couple of interesting places to get to the shrine. All right, here we are. Deep Random Thinkers says, reduce the number of belts or reduce the number of weight categories. Which one, if you only had one choice? Both, please. Both. I mean, for some weight categories to be separated by 5 pounds and less in some instances, reduce those, please. Reduce those. And the belts. We all just want to see one champion. There's so many now. It's crazy, isn't it? So many belts. It's crazy. Ade, what boxer do you believe would have the best chance of being successful in the UFC? Boy, none. No, like I can't. I'm trying to think of maybe one of the American boxers, just because I know a lot of Americans in high school do wrestling, so you kind of might have that base, but none. They'll just get taken down and destroyed. All right, last 15 minutes, people. This one, I'm not even gonna put that up. Actually, I just saw that. I'm not gonna put up. What's this one? Sporty Sports says, as a Nigerian sports fan, what hurt the most in 2022? AJ losing, Usman losing, Adesanya losing. Nigeria. Fucking hell, wasn't a great 2022, was it? Nigeria not qualifying for that last one. Get rid. Don't care. Don't care about that too much. AJ losing, Usman losing. It's between AJ and Adesanya. It might be Adesanya, you know, just because going into that AJ fight with Usyk, I kind of prepared myself for the worst. I prepared myself because of what I saw Usyk do in the first fight. I was prepared. I know Izzy got knocked out by Pereira before, but I wasn't mentally prepared for what I saw. I wasn't. I mean, Nigeria took a lot of L's in 2022. Jeez, I didn't know it was that bad. Fucking hell. AJ losing, Usman losing. And not the worst thing is, Usman got knocked out and Adesanya got put to sleep. Now, we need comebacks, and we're going to come back as well. We're going to come back. It's not going to end like that. 2023 is going to be a good one. 2023. All right, let's see if let's get some more. London Runs Boxing. Hey, Ade, are we really going to see Conor fight this year? And do you think you'll have the support of the fans like he did pre-Clomiphene? Boy, 100% he will fight this year. I've absolutely no doubt about that in my mind. Will he have the support of the fans? No. Not straight away. No, of course he won't. And I don't even know if it's because of this issue. I almost feel like fans were just so disappointed they didn't get the Eubank fight. And the reason I say that is because fans seem to get behind fighters that have drug problems in the past. Like we've seen it. Fans still get behind you. So I think it's the way in which it all played out, the way in which things were probably hid from the public a little bit. So it's going to be difficult. He's got a long way back, Conor Ben, mentally, I think. But to get the fans back on side won't be easy. I think he will eventually. Look, let's see what happens with this WBC ruling. I think everyone's excited. Excited is the wrong word. Everyone's eager to see what exactly they say and then how Conor, Eddie, and the team deal with it. It's not going to be easy at all. At all. JD_05. When's your birthday, Ade? My birthday is the 25th of March. Can you believe? Look at me as well. Can you believe I'm going to be 42? Like, what part of me is 42 years of age? Like, how? Like, honestly, I feel like I want to run to Cuba and fucking get a fake passport and be 30 again. How am I 42? Crazy. Absolutely crazy. Rory Jennings, the big man Rory says, Gervonta wallops Garcia, doesn't he? This is the way Rory talks, by the way. Not knocks out, destroys, batters, wallops. I think eventually he does wallop him, but I think Gervonta is going to struggle at times as well with Ryan Garcia. I think Ryan's going to cause a bit of problem to it. Where are we? A couple of super chats have just come in. Going to quickly read those. William Jones says, love the vids, Ade. I watch them all the time. They help me mentally too. Keep up the great work. Really appreciate that. That's they help me as well. Trust me when I do them. When I do these lives, even when I get a bit of stick, I love it. Doesn't matter. But you know, thank you very, very much. Appreciate it. P231 says, glad you removed the Hearn, the Zone, AJ fan hat. Just messing with you. All love, brother. Love your streams. Glad you're smashing on TalkSport. There you go. That's it. It's all fun and games, isn't it? It's all fun and games. But I will say though, it has been quite a difficult journey. This balancing act of doing this, being as honest as I can, being on the zone. But I think we're getting a good balance now. Just. Where are we? Flizzy says, still haven't even watched Fury versus Chisora. No chance that done 500. Yeah, you know what? I got to see it. I need to see proof. Like, there's no way that. I'm sorry. No. And it was remember, it was at 26.95. I'm not trying to say that Fury's not a draw, but nah, not on it. There's no way that done 500,000 pay-per-view buys. No. And I wasn't even going to attack him or anything. He mentioned it. I just don't think it does it. No. Oscar Buglis says, Floyd said it best. Ryan will be asleep for a year when Tank hits him. Ryan can hit as well. Ryan can hit hard as well. Let's see. Let's see what happens. Veli says it's blasphemous to call Usyk TBE. Yeah, I don't think anyone. I think someone did say it, TBE. I don't think he's the best ever. But I think someone made a point of if he does become undisputed heavyweight, so that's beating Tyson Fury, who a lot of people say is a top 10 heavyweight of all time. If he becomes undisputed heavyweight and then undisputed cruiserweight and then all the amateur accolades, I'm sorry, there has to be a question about him being a top 10. There has to be. There just has to be. There has to be. If there's not, you're being silly. Zachariah Khan says, Ade, who is winning this fight? Beterbiev, Yarde. It's got to be Beterbiev, isn't it? Massive favorite. I think I said I done a video. Obviously, I'm going to do a video this week about it. I think I give Yarde, I think I said a 15% chance. I give Beterbiev 85, just for those of you that are not very good at maths. Yeah. Just see brackets dot super chat. Appreciate it, brother. Thank you so much. Says first new sub since Showbiz the adult. Love your work. Appreciate that, man. Showbiz is really good as well. Showbiz has grown his channel so fast. His work ethic is incredible. Incredible. Good energy. Lovely stuff. Lovely stuff. So appreciate that. JD's_05 super chat says old news, but Rory Jennings and True Geordie's very heated debate last year on the kickoff was hilarious. Have you watched it? I haven't watched it. But those were good times, weren't they? Watching all those boys on the kickoff was fantastic. I saw the new one. I said the new guest the other day. It would take time, but it just didn't have that energy for me. Didn't have that energy. 2 secs. There you go. Sammy Pavley, if Rory's still watching. Rory, that Chelsea vid with you and Addy was quality. Do you guys like those vids? I don't know if you guys know what Sammy's talking about, but Rory Jennings has a channel, massive channel. It's got like 250,000 subscribers. And me and Rory do vids, film it in here about football. And a lot of people like them. They get really good numbers. So let you know, me and Rory, I think, could be filming tomorrow as well. But yeah, I might start doing a bit of football stuff, guys. We might. All right, guys, 5 more minutes. Let's see. Jake Jansen says Usyk has beat 6 world champions in their own country and stuff like Huck in Germany and Hunter in America. Yep. I think Garcia was in Russia as well, if I'm not mistaken. Bellew in Manchester. I remember Bellew was WBC champion. What's that? Is it Emeritus or Eremeta? I can't remember what the fucking term is, but you know what I'm talking about. So yeah, he travels. He travels and beats you. He beat AJ in Tottenham. He travels and busts you up. Jeez. Osi says, can you talk to AJ about doing a fight in Nigeria? Okoli, Boatsi, Joyce, Jagba would all be over to be on this card. Yeah, you forget that Joe Joyce is half Nigerian as well, I believe. It's not even a case of having a stacked card like that. I just think a fight over there would be good. Doubt it's going to happen. But even if it doesn't happen, forget the idea of AJ Wilder in Lagos. That's just a pipe dream. Even if it doesn't happen, I don't understand why the zone can't go to that market and try and unearth talent. We've seen them in the last 12 to 18 months sort of do good things in Italy, good things in Spain. Not quite sure what the issue is in terms of doing good events in whether it be Nigeria, Ghana, who have a really good, rich boxing history. When you think of the likes of Ike Quarter and the rest, South Africa, Namibia, Zimbabwe, there's markets there. It'd be good for them to do stuff once every 4 or 5 months. Lewis Larrigan says, Addy, the best on YouTube with the Fight Disciples. That is good company. I think what Nick, Pete, and Adam Catch will do on the Fight Disciples is insane. Very, very good at what they do. Super chat here from Slowly Turning Silver. Says, hi, mate, we are both slowly turning silver. Hi, Ade, Happy New Year. Mine's not even slowly. Mine is just turning. I watched one of your Insta stories when you spoke about goals. I DM'd you on this. No response. Hope in 2023 you'll reach out. DM me again. Send me a DM right now. Like, as we speak right now. Sean Hodge, boxing. I'm trying to get to 500 subs. Keep up the good work. Sean, are you just saying that so I can help you? Go on then. There's 466 of you in the chat. Can we go over to Sean? Not yet. Can you go over after we are done to Sean Hodge's YouTube page? And if you like it, subscribe. If you don't, then blame it on Sean. Ian Hamilton says, even that, I'll ask this again. Who are your favorite fiction authors? As you said, you're a big Lee Child fan. Big, massive. I've got every single Lee Child book. Lee Child book, of you, those that don't know, he has a character in the book called Jack Reacher. You guys might have seen the Tom Cruise films. In fact, yeah, Prime have a Jack Reacher series. And that guy that plays Jack Reacher is exactly, maybe a bit on the young side, but that's more like Jack Reacher. But yeah, I haven't really read many fiction books since. So I'm only a Lee Child guy. The other books I read are a bit more serious. But yeah, I've got every single Lee Child book, which I think is up to 30 now. Wasn't Garcia in Latvia? Might have got that wrong. Where are we? Ade, nobody wants to pay in Nigeria. No. Plus the economies are terrible. Look, you're right. The economy is not great right now. But when I say people are paying, like let me tell you how much I know people are paying in Nigeria. And it might not be, you're right in sense the the average Joe might not be able to afford it, so they've got to price it correctly. But I was in Nigeria recently for Christmas. I went to so many clubs. I went to one club. I was around a table. You know how much the table was? This is for me to get. And by the way, when I say table, like I'm in a club, so you have to a minimum spend on the table, £5,000. 5,000 people were buying those tables like that. You know why? Because they want to be seen. They want to show off. People would happily go and spend an AJ Wilder just to be seen that I was there. There's money to be spent in that country. I don't know if Adeola lives in Nigeria or what, but having lived there, and I'm there every 3 or 4 months, and all my friends are there, there are multimillionaires in that country that will happily spend when it comes to an AJ Wilder fight. But it does need to be priced rightly for, obviously, because you want it in a stadium for those that can't spend that kind of money. I'd say let them in for fucking free, personally, but hey. All right, quickly, last two. Where are we? Loma versus Haney. What you saying from Reese? Reese, I am now saying Haney. For the last 3 years, I've been saying Loma, but I'm not stupid. Loma is coming to the end. Haney's now almost coming into his peak. And as good as Loma is, he's too small for these guys, and too many injuries, too much inactivity. I think we're going to see the best of Haney in the last couple of years. Someone's asked me for my thoughts on transgender boxing. Are you trying to get me cancelled? Are you trying to get me cancelled? Don't do it. All right, what else? I saw you on IG at Tony's party. Yes, I was in a big party in Nigeria. I think that's what changed my mind about, can Nigeria afford it? It certainly can. Last one here, and a super chat as well to end it. Guys, really appreciate you all jumping on this live, the first live of Sunday. JD_05 says, have you ever been much of a gamer? Never. You know what it was? I think from a young age, my mum could never afford I'm old, so I'm going to name some really old consoles. So my mum could never afford a Nintendo 64 or a Sega Mega Drive. I never had them, just couldn't afford them. Or even way before that, older ones like Commodore 64, which you guys probably don't even know what that is. So I never had them. I was just out on the street playing football and doing other stuff. So that's probably why I never got into gaming, just because we couldn't afford one in my house. So yeah, that's probably the why. My mum had to keep the lights on, boy. I ain't got money to pay for fucking gaming consoles. All right, guys, I really appreciate you coming on. If you are new to the channel, please subscribe. Before you leave, there's 445 of you. Please just do me a thumbs up on the video. Please, as you exit the building, just like the video. It's so easy. Look, you just go there and press like. So easy. Just do it now. Do it. All of you are not doing it. Can you do it? All of you. 400. Can you just press like? It will help me. And remember, we're trying to get to 40,000 subscribers before the end of April. I need all your help to do it as well. So please do that as well. But guys and girls, first live of the year. Thank you so much for joining us. And yeah, we're going to have a busy January because so many fights coming up. Peace and love.